Hello again, everybody, and welcome back. I have another interview here for you today, as you can see, it is BCJ from Evil Geniuses. Hi, BCJ. It's been a while. What have you been up to?
Been hard at the grindstone for quite some time, but now it's great to be back in the swing of things, and I'm excited to get back on stage.
Now, I'm just going to go straight into it and ask you the question I think everybody is wondering. This ginormous roster, this project that seems a little bit unorthodox compared to the other team. How is it working? How many of you are coming to Brazil? What is going on with the protocols right now?
Yeah, so I think it's been a question that a lot of people have been asking, and I've even answered it on my stream a couple times. But we're gonna have a main roster of 5 players that start. It's gonna be like every other team. I know a lot of other teams have been kind of picking up that 6 player. They don't ever plan on playing him, type of deal. And EG really likes their league kind of style that they got going on with their LCS team. And they believe that you can develop talent just as easy as you can, develop the main team at the same time. And so, just like an academy team, we're gonna have a second roster, a reserve roster that we can in-house scrim. We can, utilize however we see fit. And so, yeah, we've been building that out. We had a big trial process, took a little bit of time to get through, but yep. While that was going on, we're still scrimming like everyone else. We've been playing with the main roster, and yeah, I'm super excited.
Are you able to at all tell me who is on the main roster going into Brazil?
Yep. So for the main roster, it'll be myself, playing controller. It would be Bucio, Ethan, Jogamo, and Com. That would be the main roster for Brazil.
Okay, so the controller part caught me off guard because obviously you're one of the most exciting and most talented initiator players we saw. I know, of course, with Ethan and a couple of other players joining, there's a lot of initiator players going on your roster right now. So is that why you've made that change?
Yeah, for my trial with EG, I played a bunch of different stuff too, and I think what they really like about me is, my energy and my comms. That was really the biggest thing that I knew I had to step up if I wanted to make that next level of franchising. And I mean, if you go take a look at the NA teams that we have, not a lot of spot for initiator players. And even though, I consider myself, top 2, top 3, I proved it at that last event. It's just that strict right now. It's that hard to make a team. And when they came calling and said, "Hey, how do you feel about controller?" Like, what do you think about that? I've already played it on stage. I know that it's something that I do in 10 mans all the time, tournaments with friends, stuff like that. So picking it up for me, it was super easy, and that transition has been very, very fun. I'm able to take a new look at the game, definitely, and that excites me a lot. I was trying to play more agents on Xset. I think that was something I really liked having fun with the game, is just learning new stuff, and playing controller has definitely allowed me to do that so far.
I mean, yeah, you have played a decent amount of Omen. That you have stats on it. It's definitely not new for you. But I think what people might be surprised about, like you said, you're up there. You're not just any initiator player. We're not talking about someone that's like, oh, the only way they can make it on a team is if they role swap. So, was this a difficult decision for you, knowing that you are one of the best in that role?
At first glance, yes, it was hard. But the more you think about it, it's a spot in franchising. You know what I mean? It's a spot with a great organization, great team of guys. I mean, I fucking love these guys. And everything about the opportunity just made so much sense for me. Um, Especially just getting that taste of Istanbul and getting that taste of that main stage with a crowd. I mean, because that was the first crowd I've played with in Valorant. Obviously, I played with crowds in Apex, but first crowd in this game, and it was crazy. I loved it. I loved everything about it, and so I wanted to get back to that more than anything. Obviously, there were offers from pretty much every challengers team for me to join. But at the end of the day, I need to do what's best for me, and I think I'm gonna have the most fun playing on stage for sure.
Actually, I mean, I think a lot of the things people took away from Istanbul with you and also your old team is just how the structure that you brought and a lot of the protocols you guys brought and the excitement as well. And your new team, I feel like, again, has a lot of those elements, a lot of those layers. And of course, you've gone from working with one insanely good coach, disciplined coach, into another who's also very, very well known in the scene. So are things sort of a bit similar to what you were used to before, or are there any major differences between these two teams?
Out the gate, there were definitely some similar like things I noticed right away. Really just the fundamental things that we talk about in Xset, I instantly saw here. And obviously with every team is a little, there's a little shift in how the environment works, how involved everyone is and strategy, stuff like that, and who's calling over one another, stuff like that. So it goes top to bottom. I mean, from this team, being able to bring in two players, like two basically brand new players, and I thought that first off, oh, I was scared. I was like, oh, how are we gonna do it? I mean, I think everyone's thinking that right now. Like, all these new teams are like, oh, how can we get it done? Because we all want to show out at Brazil, but I really liked how Potter set it up for us. I was super worried that, how it was going to work, how the practice would work, how the calling would work, how I'd fit in. Because you don't want to ever step on people's toes, especially when I'm one of the new guys. So yeah, I was super happy. A lot of my ideas that I had, Potter really liked, and a lot of Potter's ideas that I never really thought of just ended up working with me as well. So kind of both of us meshing together, but mainly Potter really had a good plan going into this. Like, you're gonna fit into this system, and that's why I chose you, type of thing. And it worked out perfectly. I mean, I fit in great. The guys love me. I love the guys. Like, I think the vibes right now are probably at an all-time high with Evil Geniuses for sure.
Oh wow. Okay. I mean, you need that belief, right? It's not hard. Sorry, it's not easy to kind of have this much belief as a new guy on the team, but it's good to hear that you do. I will say though, I'm sure you're aware of it. NA, there's a lot of drama. There's a lot of memes. There's a lot of narratives. Let's put it this way. A lot of people are kind of raving about 100 Thieves, Cloud9, Sentinels even, and they've been making comments of like, EG are just there. Like, Sentinels and C9 and 100 Thieves are going to win stuff. EG, they're just happy to be there. What do you think about that? How justified is that, or do you think it's just people being stupid?
I love it. I mean, I'm no stranger. Listen, I was on Xset, okay? Like, we were that team before. People were talking about Sentinel. We were there. We qualified for everything. We were that team in the past on Xset. And obviously, you kind of just get better with every tournament, and that's what this team's done. I mean, you go take a look at their history. It's the same thing as Xset. They're on their rise. Just that they were not as fast as us, so people don't talk about them as much. But it's the exact same story that we had on Xset. And that's why I really love this story about this team. Going all the way from, bottom of the barrel to making tier one, beating Optic. People don't even want to talk about that stuff that's happened with the old team already. But these guys are impressive. What they've done so far, and all the way like I say, top to bottom. Like, these guys have created legacies in LCS. Like, they just made Worlds last year. Like, I'm working with those guys, and working with those guys, going into the office and seeing them, talking to the LCS players. Like, everyone's committed to winning here. And uh, I don't think that we're worried about what the public's saying. Like, regardless of that, it only fuels us. Like I said, I've been there. I've heard all the people shit talk my teams in the past, and we're here to prove them wrong once again.
We love an upset. I feel like no, we everyone loves an upset more than anything else. But do you see it as an upset if you are able to go deep in Brazil, maybe even take down some of the teams in your region? Is this a case of people underestimating you?
Definitely. I mean, I think Brazil, just the format itself, allows for any team to come away. I mean, simple best of three can go any type of way. Whoever plays better that day, whoever makes less mistakes. I mean, it doesn't matter how good your team is. If you make more mistakes, you're probably going to end up losing. Everyone at this level, these 30 teams, they made the best roster they possibly could. And I think it's going to be a wild event. I think you're going to see more upsets probably than you've ever seen before. So for that reason alone, I mean, it should make for a really exciting event. And yeah, 3 wins, and I mean, we qualify, right? 3 or 4 wins, and you qualify to the top four. So anyone can do it. Why not us?
Yeah, it's definitely doable. But your start is an interesting one because you come right off the bat and you're going to go up against Heretics, obviously a team that's the players on that team are very very well known in our region, and I think a lot of them are also well known internationally as well. Not much footage though on this team. I don't know what exactly you can expect from them, but do you know much about the players here? What do you make of them?
Yeah. We scrimmed them a bunch on Xset in the past. Well, before on their old rosters, I want to say. And yeah, I think that they have a lot of pedigree behind them. You know what I mean? That's what people kind of go back to. But you know, my guys are hungrier. Simple as that. And when we play them, like, that's going to be the difference, I think. my team is hungrier than ever, while these guys have been there before. They're gonna be like, oh, this shit's easy. Like we're going. It's another game, another land. You know how it goes. While we're, playing some of our first events, I'm going back for my second event in Valorant. Like I think this is my second time in front of a crowd. So a lot of us have something to prove, and a lot of us want to, kind of attack that narrative that Evil Geniuses has right now. And so that's what I'm hoping that, is going to turn the tide in this match.
I'm feeling like a little bit of a villain vibe coming from. Is this where we're going? Like, I know you're like evil geniuses, kind of makes
We're
sense.
living evil over here, baby. I mean, come on.
I mean, is that the vibe we're going for? You guys looking to kind of be the villains here?
I mean, we're going to be that underdog story that everyone will start talking about, but just got to get a few wins under our belt,
Yeah.
Don't want to start the shit talk too early, you know what I'm saying? We'll get there. We'll get there.
It's in there though. Like you know what you're gonna say. Like you can see it, right? It's you got a few things in your locker when it happens. I mean, you talk about playing in front of a crowd. I will say that out of all of the teams that did end up playing in front of a crowd, your experience was a very unique one because obviously going up against like the home team or the home player as well in Turkey and Istanbul, Psycho coming in here with the shush and things, it rolled some people up. So was that also a good experience in your mind to kind of have people like actively go against you in the arena?
I mean, it was hilarious. I mean, to your point about playing the only Turkish player, like everything aside, if he did something, if he got a kill, the entire crowd would go 10 times volume. Like I can't even make that up. And so I use that. Like, like I can hear him going in. If I hear that neon wall on Pearl, I'm eyeing that guy and I'm shooting him down. Like I hear the crowd roaring. Like I'm shooting this guy. And that was really, the main focus. Try to shut him down, stop that energy, because obviously that kid's super nervous going into that. I mean, it's a hard position to put yourself in, right? I'm excited to see the Brazilian teams this time around. I think they'll get that similar kind of nervousness, while some teams are going to love it. Some of those experienced players on, Loud, Sentinels, I think those guys are really going to love this environment. And I'm hoping that there's some English speakers in the ranked queues when we get there. That's what I'm hoping for.
I like it. You're kind of like counter-stratting the crowd. It's smart. It's a smart move for sure. I will also say that when we talk about controllers, there is a new one in the pool. Harbor, I think a lot of people don't like him. I think there's one or two that's kind of like, oh, you could use him for this and that. Have you played him at all? What are your views right now on him? And do you think other teams will even play Harbor in this tournament?
So I think the first week of Harbor release, Potter messaged me, yo, get on this Harbor shit, I want you to grind it. And I was like, yeah, hell yeah, I'm down. Let's see what this shit's. This agent sucks. This guy is terrible. Hard to use, I will say, in a ranked environment. Pro play is a whole different story. I think it's very similar to how you kind of see Viper utilized right now on the double controller maps. Definitely his kit serves that same purpose. But Viper just sees a lot more play, unfortunately, because of the post plan meta and certain factors about, you don't have to be exactly where you put the Viper wall, so you can kind of lurk a little bit more. That's just the kind of meta that we've played in the past. So I think if the meta fits his kind of style, I mean, we could definitely see him. His kit's very similar to Viper, and Viper's great. So I think, it really depends on the maps that we see. And I think this new map pool, we might see it. This new map pool is getting a little crazy already. So we'll see what teams do.
Is it one of those agents that, sometimes if you see a Yoru in pro play, it could go one or two ways. And if it goes the they got something prepped way, it can be a little bit scary. So if you're sitting there on stage and you see that your opponent has locked in a Harbor, how would you feel about that? Is this like, okay, they're running it down?
Oh, we're feeling great, baby. If they're playing Harbor, we're feeling great. They're trying some experimental stuff, and I mean, you love it. That's the whole point of this game is, being crafty, being unique. We love that type of stuff, and I think that's really why they made the decision with the map pools. Really to breeze. Everyone played like one comp. I think that's really why they took that one out. Stuff like that. I think the devs really want to see that kind of innovation, and I'm all for it. I love it.
Oh god, okay. Now I'll look out for it. We'll see if any teams can actually make it work. Obviously in the beginning you mentioned that some challengers teams, ascension teams were interested in you. Have you been watching their progress of all open qualifiers? I know we've got the format and the groups as well. Who you got your eyes on?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I love almost all the top invited teams that are in challenges right now. Got a lot of friends on those teams, a lot of people I've known, teamed with in the past. So definitely a lot of chemistry between a lot of those guys. And if I had to pick a couple teams to name, I think the one that's probably closest to home is M80 or FaZe. Those guys, they made me feel great. When I talked to them, and M80 specifically, my old boss, my old Xset boss is now running the show at M80, and so I'm excited to see him back in the scene. There was a lot of question marks when he left Xset and wasn't sure if he was going to be back in esports. But to see M80 and to see that team grow, with some of my favorite players, like that's a big. I'm a very happy guy to see that. And yeah, FaZe, I mean, those guys are just super. The chemistry on that team is crazy, and I think that if they find that fit that fits, I think those guys will go a long way.
And last question, speaking of people that don't get enough credit, everybody likes to make tier lists, right? Like pre-event tier lists, pulling teams where you think they're going to end up. And I think this is one of the hardest ones to do because obviously all the new rosters and new maps and stuff, but it hasn't stopped people. I don't know if you've seen any of them, but you guys are in there amongst kind of the pack. But if I asked you where you would tier list EG going into Brazil, where would you put yourself? So like S, A, B, C, D, and so on.
It's a hard question. Personally, I'd only put the rosters in S that, like probably even up to A, that have stuck with a solid core. And I mean like probably all five of their players and their coach. Like if they've stuck to their game plan, like I instantly think of someone like DRX, PaperX, like those type of teams that have already peaked, kept their core, maybe changed one player, same with Navi. I look at I think those teams are going to be dangerous, out the gate, right?
Yeah.
Every team's, looking for the future. Obviously, that's why you build these kind of rosters. But I think those guys can be scary at Brazil. And so those are my A to S's. Like, those are my A teams, those are my S teams. I definitely see us with the pack, for sure. And I think that majority of the teams in this event are going to be in that pack. I don't think there's many teams that I'd put even below C. I really think everyone can win this event. Couple matches make or break a team, and even after this event ends, it's still going to be hard to tier list those said teams. So this is just going to be kind of a event to showcase all the teams, and even if they play one match, unfortunately, we're just going to see how it goes. See how the cookie crumbles.
Are we sitting at a B then? It sounds like
Sure,
you're kind
we're
of
there. We're in the
aiming
pack.
that area. Yeah. But you gotta like win a few to climb. Basically, it's
Oh
it's a
yeah,
nice
yeah, yeah.
starting point. All right, no, I like that. I like that. Thank you very much for joining me. I really appreciate your time, BCJ, and good luck in Brazil.
Thank you so much. Pleasure having you.